And there we go.
Yeah.
Back to episode 13.
Nice.
Just in time
Lucky 13.
for, isn't Friday the 13th about to come up?
Is it?
I think it is. It's that's October 13th every year.
No, that's not.
No,
No.
that's not how. But I'm pretty sure that this year there is going to be a Friday. The
Okay,
13th.
nice. But no, I remember in elementary school.
Yeah.
This is a very random story, but good for a podcast.
Good.
I was in like 4th grade or something, and my class had a thing where we would like mentor like a younger student or something. And I remember the student's birthday was on like like September 13th or something. And I remember doing the math and seeing like what date would September have to start on for the 13th day to be on a Friday.
Oh.
And it would change every year since it's like it doesn't split evenly.
No, I hear that. I know because like I remember my birthdays would be sometimes on a weekend as a younger kid.
Right.
And then it became part of the week and I was pissed about that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that there is a Friday the 13th month. Like is that not a thing? That Friday the 13th always happens in one month for whatever reason?
You're saying like the same month or like one of the months?
I feel like Friday, isn't it like a scary Halloween-y thing where that happens?
It couldn't happen every Halloween.
Okay.
Or every October.
Okay.
There's some chance there's always a Friday the 13th because there are so many months. But
Yeah. I mean, there should
definitely
be,
not every
but
October.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Not every October. Dang. I could have sworn there was something like that. I guess not.
Yeah.
But I did. There was
Sometimes.
something that I was thinking of right before. This is not too on topic with Friday the 13th.
There's no topic yet.
Yeah. But it was just an interesting, not really a thought experiment, but just if you knew that there was, say, a huge earthquake or tsunami coming, not for sure, but you were maybe 80, 90% sure that in the next, 10 years, maybe, a huge tsunami or earthquake was going to come and cover let's just say the whole United States so that you can't just move to a different state.
Okay.
And you were 80 to 90% sure this was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And afterwards, it was going to be pretty bad. It's not like everyone would die instantly. Some people would obviously survive an earthquake, but the infrastructure would be destroyed. It would just be refugees, basically.
Sure.
What would you do? Would you move? Would you live here for 8 years and then move away? Like, you're not necessarily sure it's exactly 10 years, but you know that within the next 20 and probably not the next 5, tsunami's coming. So
Interesting.
what would you do? Would you actually move away, or would you just hope that the 20% it wasn't going to happen would be the case and you'd be fine? Would you accept that even if it did happen, you'd live as a refugee? What would you do?
Yeah. That's an interesting idea. I would say, like, first off, the whole percentage thing, it seems like the closer it gets, almost like the more you would care about the possibility.
Yes.
Because, like, if you say it's like, there's an 80% chance it'll happen 10 years from now, it's like, 10 years is so long that it's like, you hear that and you're like, oh no, man, I'll have to worry about that at some point.
Yeah.
And, like, the closer it gets, the more it's like, wow, there's only a 20% chance it won't happen.
Yeah.
Like a year before it or something.
Yeah,
You're like,
that's true.
All right, it's time to do something.
Yeah, but I mean, would you wait until it was time, or would you just accept the fact that it's very likely to happen and start now, just trying to move your life over so that you're as young as possible when you get into whatever new country you're going to, and you can have a good time there and learn the language or whatever you need to do?
I think that would be like the optimal way to do it. But I feel like what would happen is that like this is like how a lot of things go, where it's like you hear about it the first time and you're like, oh man, I need to start planning for this. So you do a little bit of something, and then you forget about it for 8 years, and then you remember like, oh yeah, there's going to be a tsunami in a couple years. I better do something about it. And then you do something.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's just like the kind of thing that you think of as so important. And in this experiment, this thought experiment, you know that there's an 80% chance. It's not just a mystical, maybe it'll happen. And it seems a little bit more certain. So I would like to think that I would start planning. But I haven't started planning for China.
Right. I feel like this is...
But at the same time, it's not necessarily an 80% chance that China's coming to take over.
Right.
It looks pretty bad, though.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah. The only reason I was thinking of this at all was just because I was listening to a Joe Rogan Mike Baker podcast. He's some ex-CIA agent. And he was just talking about all the stuff that China's doing and all the land they're buying up and all the people that they've got working for them and how they've got their equipment in our cell phone towers, and the government
Nice.
recognized it and said we can't use that equipment, but they haven't been able to get it out yet because they don't want to pay the money to get new equipment. And
Nice.
it's just crazy stuff, and it seems
Yeah.
like inevitable.
But do you think it's like, obviously it's inevitable that China will like do something, but is it that they'll like just take over the government and have like control over things, or is it that they'll like start an invasion and like make everyone refugees?
I think it's tough to say which one of those exactly would happen, but I'm like, it's close to inevitable in my mind that they'll make things worse for
Yeah.
us. And so that's more what I'm trying to get at with the tsunami. Like, would I be preparing? Is there any place that's going to be safe from the tsunami?
Oh, sure.
I don't know.
Yeah, I guess I'm more thinking like the tsunami thing doesn't apply anymore, but it's like, is it a tsunami or is it like just kind of an inconvenience where the government sucks now and will suck a little bit more, and we'll have to be careful what we send over text or something?
Yeah. It very well could be that.
Yeah.
I assume for us, like, if there's this much media out there already, like we've put a couple podcasts out where we've talked about China.
Uh-huh.
My YouTube videos, they know that I talk about China. That's all online at this point, and not that they'll do that instantly. They won't be able to look at that stuff instantly, but eventually there'll be some algorithm that just goes through and links every person's face to their identity and listens for the word China, and if it's mentioned in a negative way, then those people go away.
Yeah.
And so I assume that, you know, with the technology coming, they'll be able to do that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Definitely like the like the AI totalitarianism sort of
Not
thing.
even like complete AI, just really good
Yeah.
AI tools.
Like the current sort of AI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems like they might be able
Yeah.
to.
That seems very possible.
Yeah.
Then yeah, what is the or like the answer of it? Because it's like it's almost like moving away wouldn't.
Moving away really.
Like
wouldn't do
unless you
much.
move,
Yeah.
if assuming there's some country where you can move to that would be
Yeah.
free from China, then I guess you just turn into like a outlaw in the U.S.
I was thinking,
or something.
I was thinking it almost sounds like the only way is to be like, I'm not even going to say a lone wolf terrorist, but that almost seems like what a lot of people's futures will be if we did end up getting taken over.
Yeah. By lone wolf terrorist, you mean like just
Like-
someone who's just like an outlaw and just
Yeah,
goes around
exactly.
killing people?
Yeah, not just killing people,
Yeah.
but like fighting the oppressive regime.
Right.
You know, I think we see that in the United States sometimes, like with the Boston Marathon bombing that happened a while ago. Not that they were doing it in a way that was just killing people, but I guess it would be really tough to effectively
Right.
take out government things, to take out government targets.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder if like a more realistic like way it would go is that like right now it seems like China probably has some influence on the government. They're like gradually trying to like spy on us and stuff. But it's like I feel like with the way the US is, it's hard to like really just like command the population. And I wonder if it's almost more likely that it's like China will gradually influence the government until the kind of like libertarian, like the gun rights people,
Yeah, libertarian.
the
Yeah.
libertarians gradually realize like China is doing something to our government. It's time to revolt.
Oh,
and that sort of
create a
thing.
huge war?
Maybe you
Okay.
know,
like you think that China will intend to get them like in the loop about it, and so that they'll know something's up, and then they'll like start a civil war?
I'm thinking more like it would be hard for China to really do that much without like tipping people off and people realizing, wait, we got to start doing something about this.
Yeah.
Unless you do it very slowly, you know.
Yeah. It just seems like they've already done so much. Like, they've already bought up so much land and property and businesses here.
Right.
They've put their stuff in our cell phone towers. A lot of our pretty much everybody's phone has TikTok on it, which people, not you, but I think that some technical people, I don't know exactly, but software engineers have back engineered it and looked and have said, at least I've heard this on the Joe Rogan Experience, that it's one of the most serious security flawed apps out there. Just like it's harvesting data from
Nice.
everybody. And it seems like it's pretty obvious what's going on already. So what more would they really have to be doing? Like, what
Yeah.
actions?
it's hard to say. Like, I guess I'm thinking on a more like military basis of like
Yeah.
they can control us economically and like socially, and like some socially at least of like recommending evil TikToks or something. But there's only so much they could do in terms of like knocking on your door and like threatening you with a gun if you don't go with them to the China jail or whatever. If you have a gun, or
Yeah.
like if you're like one of the libertarian people who's just like already has like an arsenal of weapons.
Yeah.
It's like it seems like there's some barrier at least.
Yeah, there is definitely a barrier to that. In fact,
Mhm.
there's a really good movie that we should watch. I'm going to add it to the list of movies that we should watch. Red Dawn. Have you ever heard of that?
That sounds familiar.
It's literally, the first one is about Russia invading the US, and then it's just civilians take up arms and basically them launching a counteroffensive against the Russian military. And then the remake, that was made back in the 70s or something. The remake was made in the early to mid 2000s, I think. And it was if North Korea did it,
Nice.
because Russia wasn't the Soviet Union anymore. So that's a good one. And
Yeah.
it is somewhat realistic, but I don't think that people would be well enough equipped, most people, to
Yeah.
do that. I think they'd run out of food pretty quickly, or just
Right.
water, and China could just turn it all off, and then that would whittle the population down by 90%. And then,
Yeah.
and then
I don't know
there'd
if
be-
they want that.
yeah, well, I
But-
mean, they might. Then they can just
Yeah.
send in the Chinese people, and they're
Yeah.
living in skyscrapers over there. They could have each their own house here.
That's true. There are like 3 times so many people. in
Yeah,
China.
I mean, just
Or
send a
before.
couple big ships over.
Yeah.
Very possible.
That just seems crazy, but like, I guess we've never really seen like a modern war like that. So
Yeah, that would
Who
be,
knows?
That's like the end of all wars. It's like
Yeah.
once someone has so clearly won with the technology necessary to really maintain control over a large area, we've never really seen that before. I mean,
no.
kind of now. Like, there are places now like China where the population doesn't really have a chance of ever rebelling,
Right.
just because there's so much technology and such a well-equipped military that it would be almost impossible.
Yeah.
But we haven't really seen a war necessarily completely take over an area effectively. I guess
Yeah.
with the full effort of a very powerful country behind it. We've seen like partial efforts, I feel, in the Middle East. We've kind of tried. I haven't kept up with the situation too much, but we kind of tried to do that to a couple countries, and there was still a bunch of terrorism going on, but it wasn't done in a I mean, it was brutal, but it wasn't like the most brutal, like what I'm talking about, what they could do, where they just cut off all the food and water.
Yeah.
Maybe
like,
it was.
not as like.
It might have been done that way. I'm not pretending to know.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe like it wasn't as like effective almost, or like they weren't trying as hard to like.
Yeah, like they were still
No
looking,
matter what.
They were still looking out for the world to not be pissed at them. But if if one government really did conquer the whole thing, then they could do whatever they wanted,
Right.
and not worry about the lashback from other militaries. If there were
Yeah.
just people, then they really could be even more brutal than they already
Yeah,
are.
because I was thinking like, China can do whatever crazy things they want like domestically, and it's like they can't really do that much, or like no country could do that much to another country without ever all the other countries being like, hey, what are you doing to these people?
Yeah.
But if you do it like internally or whatever, and just don't tell people about it, then you can do whatever you want, kind of. Or not whatever you want, but like to a much more extreme degree.
Yeah.
And it's like if China takes over all the countries, then it's all just like an internal conflict, and they can just, like hypothetically, just cut off the water and like starve the population or whatever.
Yeah. And
Which is bad, yeah.
To an extent, like other countries can do pretty bad stuff to other countries, like what's going on with Russia and Ukraine. The world is like kicking back in some ways, like economically, but at least not that I'm aware of, nobody's sending in armed military personnel to deal with it. No one
Right.
is really countering Russia. It's a between Russia and Ukraine kind of thing, and the rest of the world does sanctions and they send Ukraine supplies.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess maybe that's maybe the most that they would do.
But it is
But yeah.
keeping Ukraine going. I mean,
Yeah, and it seems bad for Russia, right? Like,
yeah, it does seem bad for Russia.
I haven't been following it very much, but like, I assume Russia's still not very happy about it, or like,
I think that the people probably aren't thrilled, is my guess.
Yeah.
My guess. I don't know. Maybe at this point, and now that it's been going on for months, there's probably been a lot of propaganda, and a lot of the people are probably like hearing, look at what the rest of the world did to us. They just
Yeah.
destroyed the jobs and the economy, and your life is tougher because of all this. This was supposed to be
Just makes
quick.
them hate everyone else. instead
Yeah,
of-
and then a lot of people probably went down that route. Some people probably stuck with, now we're the government, we're pissed at them. But
Right.
a lot of people are still probably just getting more enamored and getting upset at the rest of the world, is my guess.
yeah.
Yeah. So not a great situation.
Yeah. No, yeah. It seems. Yeah, it seems possible that things would go down this road of just like China already has a foothold everywhere and they'll just like gradually take over.
Yeah.
But I would like to think of like, say there's a situation where China just like has complete control over their population and like no one can really revolt or like do much. I feel like that's not like a good way to run a country almost. Not just in terms of, like the unhappiness, but also in terms of like the progress and like the innovation. Because you almost need like the population to be happy enough and like feel like there's enough hope to like want to make new things or like
Yeah.
make progress towards things.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
it would definitely cut down on progress within the geographic United States if they won, and the rest of the world. But in China itself, that would almost be like the golden years of China when all the wealth of the rest of the world started flowing into it.
Right.
And people were looking at the situation like, well, look at what my government did for me. And
Yeah.
I mean, if they ended up sharing and spreading some of the wealth, if they realized that there wouldn't be much progress if there weren't some happy people, at least the upper class scientists maybe,
Sure.
then people they had doing menial labor wouldn't get much, but they don't need much to, do the physical stuff. They wouldn't
Right.
be very creative, but it might be a kind of situation like that, you know?
Yeah, where they just like almost like they take over the US and then move all the innovation and stuff to China.
Yeah.
But I wonder if it would almost be like more efficient since we already have all the infrastructure for like making new things and starting new like tech business and stuff to like kind of take over control of the US but not just like wipe everything and like keep the things in place and almost just like have China like the like geographical China stay kind of like not as good as the US and almost like concentrate the innovation stuff where it already is concentrated, you know?
They could.
That sounds like a nice thing, but I don't know if it's realistic.
Yeah, they could. I
Yeah.
mean, that sounds good for us.
Yeah. But I feel like that would kind of make sense.
Yeah, just to keep the innovation here.
Mhm.
I mean, the thing about the innovation, I feel, is that while there is some infrastructure, like there are labs and stuff,
Mhm.
it's not the kind of massive infrastructure that you need for the most part to develop goods. And if it is a massive infrastructure, it's often transportable digitally. Like it's a bunch of servers or processors
Yeah.
that could do things across the internet. And so there's no tie really to the geographic area. If they could get whatever great minds were working here that were willing to keep working for China and just move them over wherever they wanted.
Yeah.
I mean, they could keep them here, but it would just be an arbitrary choice. And
I don't know, though. Like, I feel like COVID almost showed us that it's not... Like, that things don't really work virtually.
the work from home, yeah.
Yeah, like, with all the stuff going online, it's just, like, people kind of need, like, the in-person interaction.
Yeah.
And also, like, the national pride and stuff.
Well,
Like,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, the in-person interaction could happen. It's easily movable to
Yeah,
a different
yeah.
location. There's no infrastructure necessarily that I know of,
Yeah.
other
it-
than,
yeah.
servers and that kind
It's
of
more just, like, where, like, that
Yeah.
people are in the same place.
Like with China's
yeah.
advantage that they have is they're really good at manufacturing stuff. And all of their factories are in China. So
Yeah.
it would be very difficult. You have to build all the new factories here if you wanted to take that and move it to this geographic area. But the innovation, it seems like you just get some people, put them on planes or boats, you move them over.
Yeah. But then the question is, what do you do with the U.S.? Because if it takes too much to like move the infrastructure here, why not just like, or like what is there that you would want to keep here?
I think a lot of it is that they want to get rid of an enemy. They want to get rid of the other countries that would tell them, no, you can't do this and that, that they might want to do, and that could oppose them. And they would benefit. I mean, there are a lot of natural resources here. There's a lot of open land and beautiful areas, good climate, that they could just own and produce income from. I mean, there's stuff to be done here. Maybe not move all the innovation. I don't know.
Yeah.
There
That almost
could-
sounds like they would just like kind of just take over and like let most of the population live peacefully and just get rid of the dissidents.
Yeah, no, I think it
Yeah.
would. Yeah, it could be like that. I would hope.
Mhm.
Regardless,
Yeah.
I don't necessarily want it because as more and more technology becomes prevalent, there's less necessity
Mhm.
for the people to be alive. As you know, you can just automate it, and robots might be doing a lot of the work that those people are doing, and that's when they might slowly start culling off the populations that aren't as useful to them.
Yeah.
And I
It's hard
wouldn't
to
want to
say,
be
yeah.
a part of that.
No, that'd be bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about the culling thing. Like that definitely seems like kind of a dystopian future of like everything is done by robots, and you don't really need the poor people anymore. You just need the rich people who can just enjoy all the products.
Yeah.
Like that seems like a possibility, but it just doesn't seem like something that people want.
No, I agree. It's not.
Like it's like rich people almost like enjoy being rich because there's poor people, you know?
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
That is true. But are they aware enough to realize that? Or do they just think these people are a threat to my wealth? Because
So they would just like kill all the poor people and then realize afterwards.
I think a lot of them might. And there would still be richer people.
Right.
It would get rid of a lot of the people who they could all look down on and say we're better than them because we have more.
Yeah.
But I think that a lot of them would still be content just being richer than their peers.
Right.
Yeah. And not everyone is looking at it from that perspective of I'm rich because the other people are poor. I mean, once
Right.
we have the automation and you have the robots just serving you and doing everything for you, everyone is almost like a king or an emperor.
Right.
And, you know, they're being fed grapes by these robots and everything. And it almost doesn't matter as much. I mean, it's tough to say how the psychology will change. Because then there wouldn't really be any poor people regardless, unless you just withheld the
Right.
robots from them. So,
Right. I mean that's kind of how it is now. Of like
yeah.
we all have all this like crazy technology with like the phones and like computers and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, like I think it is almost possible that like it just sort of continues as it is, and it's like there just aren't really poor people. Like there's people who are poor. And, you know, it's almost like we're describing exactly what's happened. Where it's
Yeah.
like everyone, at least in the United States, it's like or even the poorest people are really rich compared to what medieval people were doing.
Yes.
So it's like I don't think it's that people will like they're super rich will like set out to just kill all the poor people
Yes.
and lower the population. It's almost just like things will just progress naturally, and there will just be a bottom population that has a certain amount of things that is less than the people above them.
Yeah.
But on an absolute scale, it's still like a lot more.
Yeah. I think the only difference or the key difference between the future that we're talking about and what's already happened is that we still need manual labor to be done.
Right. We're not
And
quite
the-
there.
Yeah, and the rich people are looking at the poor people saying, well, we still need the fields to be tilled and for more developments to be made technologically. And not that every rich person is thinking that, especially in the United States, but in China, maybe at the upper echelons of their rich person, Communist Party society, maybe some of them are thinking on those terms.
Interesting. So I guess like almost like the poor people would just be replaced by the robots.
Yeah, in a
That can
way,
do
yeah.
things, yeah.
Because the more, especially once you get a ton of technology, the more people there are who are unsatisfied because there are people above them, the more likely that one of them will be born and figure out how to do a neutron bomb and just destroy the world or something. Like,
We already have
just something
neutron
that, yeah, something that we don't know about yet that's
Right.
relatively easy to do and could just
Yeah.
blow up the world.
That is true, but I think at the same time it's like we're almost too like set in the thinking of like there's a limited amount of manual labor, so we need to get rid of the poor people who are like using it up, kind of. But it's like if you have the automated labor and you have like infinite amount of work
Yeah.
that can be done. I mean, not infinite, but like as many robots as you can make. It's like
Yes.
there's almost no need to get rid of the poor people. I guess there's like the lack of or like the risk of one of them being
Just crazy.
like revolutionary, but like that's
Yeah.
always going to be a risk.
Yeah.
Like you're not gonna have a rich person like Elon Musk who just starts taking over.
Yeah.
But I think like there's no real pressure to get rid of people once you have more, you know?
That's true. I mean, the pressure might be that if China did take over,
Mm-hmm.
they could obviously do it in a very generous way and say, well, now everyone will be rich. But if they don't
Yeah.
go down that path,
Mm-hmm.
then a lot of the people might be disgruntled. And it sure would take a lot longer to really distribute the wealth. And if we're at all worried about climate change or anything like that happening, then, or just like overfishing or anything, like
Right.
too much land being used for whatever, just destroying the groundwater, whatever it is that people are worried about environmentally. If we haven't
Yeah.
completely solved that with technology, then they look at it like, whew, we could solve all of these problems if there were 90% fewer people.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah,
And it
it
would
is
be,
hard to say. Like, I think
yeah,
I can't see that happening in the U.S., but definitely if it's like
yeah,
under the control of something like China, where it's like they are just kind of like willing to, or like it's just the rich people making the decisions and there's no feedback
I
from the
agree.
population. Yeah,
I
that's
don't
possible.
think in the U.S.
Yeah,
Hopefully not.
it's hard to say though. Our government's getting less and less democratic, so
Yeah,
who knows?
I trust them less and less every day. Does
Yeah,
yeah. Oh well, but
I don't think about the government too much.
no.
But when I do, it's in kind of fake seeming elections.
Yeah, but you heard it here first. Louis thinks the elections were fake.
Fake as in there's two people who nobody really chose,
Yeah.
and neither of them are very good choices.
Yes. Yes. All right. But
Yeah.
does this mean that there's no point in trying to move to a different country or escape, or should we just? I mean,
Yeah.
the U.S. kind of seems like a target, but maybe everywhere is inevitable.
Yeah, it's like the U.S. almost is the best place to be still.
It could be the last bastion.
Yeah. like, even if like we're getting taken over, it's like as long as we keep some of the stuff, it's like I feel like the European countries and like Canada and stuff are like almost based on the U.S.
Yeah.
and we're like a more like central like pure form of whatever we've made, like the democracy sort of stuff.
Yes.
And it's like it seems like we would be the last ones to get changed into
Yeah.
something different.
That makes sense.
So it's like we were the ones that changed all the other countries, kind of.
So what I'm hearing is we should hold strong here and just do our best to improve the country and hope that it can withstand the coming storm.
Yeah, I guess. I'm going to improve the country. I don't think there's much to be done with that. but
Yeah.
improve your own.
Situation in the country?
Yeah, in some way. Like,
Okay. You don't think the country could be improved if we got, I don't know, let's
who's
say
we?
I don't know, if this podcast reaches,
Yeah.
if we reached 50 million
Well, I
people
think-
with this at one point.
The only way is to get followers. Like you can't really do much on your own. It's more like a dispersed thing of like
Yes.
you get a million followers and then they are what is changing the country, kind of like.
I agree. And I
Yeah.
think Joe Rogan, in a way, did that because I don't think we would be making this podcast if Joe Rogan didn't make podcasts.
Yeah.
So, in
But
a way, it's already starting.
But is it Joe Rogan who's changed it, or is it like the recommendations that got him where he is, or like the guests, or
yes, yes.
like it's not really like Joe Rogan couldn't have done this all on his own.
No,
It's like,
yeah.
he's only been able to do this because people listen to him.
Yes.
you know?
That's what I'm saying, yeah. It's like because of the influence he amassed through whatever means he did,
Mhm.
that now there's a bunch of people out there. I assume there's more people that are doing similar things to what we're doing.
Oh, definitely.
Who,
Because of him.
yeah,
Yeah.
and hopefully if we do enough, if we're not necessarily purposefully trying to make the country a better place,
Mhm.
but I mean, that's on the back burner of my mind, I guess. It's one of the things that I try to think of when I make a choice, like, should I run this red light? Well, if everyone ran the red light, then...
Yeah.
I mean, not literally in the sense of the country, but just
Right.
in the world in
No,
general.
that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. That's definitely like a good way to think about it. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know.
I will say I'm on the side of we should try to make the world a better place if we can, as one of our things, just to keep it going long enough to
No,
figure
like
out.
it seems like we should overall, or that like somebody should, but there's like the tragedy of the commons where it's like I'm not going to be able to,
Yeah,
and it's like there's a weird disconnect of like one person isn't going to be able to do anything, but everybody doing something is what you need,
I agree. So
Yeah.
we should all just do our part.
kind of. But it's like if you do it in an inorganized way, there's no point in doing your part because other people aren't doing their part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if we all do it in an unorganized way, then it would all still get done.
Then it'd be organized.
Well, it
Yeah.
would not be organized.
Yeah.
It could all be done in an unorganized way without planning of what we would each do.
Right,
We just
right.
all do the right thing.
Yeah, I guess I'm just thinking like that can't really happen.
Yeah. It doesn't seem likely that it would. It could in a small group.
Mhm.
How small would the group have to be for you to say, like, that's possible?
Well, this gets into a very long conversation.
Yeah.
That I could try explaining, but we're
Yeah.
out of time.
We are out of
Yeah.
time. Do you think, before we end it, do you think 1,000 people, if there were only 1,000, that it would be possible?
Not without some sort of like organization.
Okay. Not just through word of mouth?
Well, that's a sort of organization,
Oh, okay.
like some sort of like cohesion or whatever.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, that's all I'm talking about.
Okay.
All right.
Then sure.
Well, episode 13, Marky,
Yeah.
thank you. Everyone else, thank you very much.
Mhm.
Feel free to subscribe for more China
Yeah.
conversations.
We're not gonna have any more. conversations.
China will always be a topic. And
This video has to be privated.
yeah, it
Yeah,
really
yeah.
is worrying. All right, well, we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Yeah. See ya.